This is the CHRILLCAST. I'm Chris.
And I'm Will.
I'm Luke.
What's happening?
I said also known as. And he's just.
Oh, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, you cut out.
It's like it's so quiet. What's happening?
I said he's like, I'm Luke, and I said also known as, and then silence, just crickets.
Oh, also known as nobody else. I definitely don't have a channel.
Also known as Halo Canon. No.
Yeah, also known as Halo follower.
Yes.
Oh man.
Halo 4 follower. Let's get this right.
Yeah.
Xperia Play, also known as Xperia Play. Okay. No, I'll tell everybody about your channel since I got this. All right, I got this. Trust me. All right.
Just take it for it.
He's a fan of everything Halo. Loves making videos around the future of the Halo universe. I hope you enjoy his channel and all the hard work and effort he puts into it. Please subscribe as well as this helps him a lot. Gotcha. I got you back.
Hey.
All right. So today, for the first time ever, we're doing FOE Friday. That was a weird way to do that. Whatever. We'll just roll with it.
FOE Friday.
We'll roll with it. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna each of us name our least favorite villain of any game series that we enjoy or don't enjoy, for all I care. And then we're gonna each name our least favorite villain from any game series we enjoy or don't enjoy. So I'm gonna let Will go first.
All right, so you want me to start off with my most favorite?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so my most favorite, it's going to, other than like obviously dipping into Halo, I would say Jack of Blades from Fable. And I realize he is the most generic bad guy ever. He is just evil for evil's sake. There's no story behind why he is the way he is. But in the TLC versions of the last chapters, he gets like, they get rid of that weird like pedophile voice and they give him a deep voice. If you play Fable, you know what I'm talking about. It's really high pitched in the original game. But in TLC, it's like deep, menacing. Like what you think of a villain voice, he has that voice. And throughout the game, he like kills your dad, kills your mom. So it's like plenty of reason to hate him. And then he turns into a freaking dragon at the end. So I mean, what's better than fighting a dragon? So I would say that's my favorite.
All right, let's go with Luke's next. And I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but go ahead.
Okay, so maybe not actually.
Maybe?
So
Okay.
my favorite foe, although technically he's not from a game, but he's in a game and he's from a game. I'm gonna say it anyway. Mendicant Bias.
All right, you have to help me spell that.
MENDICANT and then Bias. So Mendicant Bias is just there we go, look at it. Oh my goodness. You'd love to see it. Mendicant Bias is, I would honestly go as far as to say, the perfect foe, the perfect villain. He has an incredibly deep history. He has reasons for becoming a villain. He has a life before becoming a villain. The genesis of the character is insanely interesting and links in perfectly with why he becomes a villain. The cataclysmic effect of him becoming a villain and what he does with it is so interesting. His ties to the Flood, the Foreigners, his standoff with offensive bias is so cool. And I mean, technically, he has been in Halo games. He was in Halo 2. He was in Halo 3. In Halo 3, he, at least in the final mission of Halo 3, he's the reason that technically in the canon, I'm pretty sure at least, and I think I remember this, he's the reason that Chief didn't fall. When Chief was doing the Warthog run in Halo 3, he's the reason that Chief didn't fall and die. Mendicant Bias was ensuring that. There's also a theory, this is just a theory, but there's also a theory that Mendicant Bias was the one that opened the portal from the Ark to Requiem and sent Chief's half of the Dawn through to go and wake the Didact up. There's a theory that suggests that Mendicant Bias did that to send.
You watched Installation 00's video, didn't you?
I made a theory about that 3 years ago. I'm
just messing with you.
But no, yeah, Mendicant Bias is super interesting. He's got the deepest history that is really intricate, really like conspiratorial. His corruption to the Flood was really interesting.
It is really cool.
Just one of the absolute best characters in anything ever, if you ask me.
Do you think there's any chance he makes an appearance in Infinite somehow?
I goddamn hope so. I mean, we're going to be on a Zeta Halo, dude.
Yeah, I really
We're
hope so
gonna be
too.
we're going to be on a Zeta Halo. There's never been a better time. I mean, to be fair, the last time he was like the last known place that his core was on the Ark, buried somewhere on the Ark. Somewhere I like to think below Epitaph, that map from Halo 3. Again, there was this theory a few years ago that Epitaph is like the burial monument of like above the carcass of Menachem Bias. It's like this massive holy relic that was constructed above his where he was buried to like remember him, even though he was evil. But yeah, I hope so, because I know that there was one of his many cores was on a Zeta Halo, so I'll be disappointed if there's not even a reference to him in the game. There has to be something. There's gotta be.
All right, I guess it's up to me now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm torn between two, so I'll just tell you what both of them are, and then I'll make a decision as I'm talking about them. The Reapers from Mass Effect, but also Darth Malik from KOTOR. Both of them are BioWare developed games. I think I'm gonna go with Malik just because Malik was like he's evil, but he's like evil with a purpose, like going for things. And in the Star Wars universe, I think he's probably the best villain. To be totally honest with you. At least if you don't include all of the other books. If you're just talking games and movies, I don't think anybody beats Malik as a bad guy, because he's trying to get the Sith Forge and he wants to create like an unlimited number of Star Destroyers, which was cheapened by Rise of Skywalker, but that's another story.
What wasn't cheapened by Rise of Skywalker?
Yes.
But the idea of the Star Forge, and then the fact that they've like completely forced the civilization on the planet below it to become like primal instead of like advancing in technology like they did for years and years and years and years and years prior to the Star Forge being there. I mean, it's such a crazy legendary backstory to a Star Wars universe, and I really don't like Malik. Just looks evil. Have you ever seen what Malik? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I think I had them not long after Rise of Skywalker came out. I got really into Star Wars lore, and I remember watching loads of videos about like top 10 most powerful Sith, and I'm pretty sure he was like number 2 or 3.
Yeah, because
usually
based on the current canon, nobody beats the Emperor, I guess. But this dude just looks evil. I mean,
him, yeah.
He's got a freaking steel jaw, like. I mean, and then the fact that he betrayed his co-conspirator in the Mandalorian Wars, Revan. It's like, wow, this guy's like ruthless. And he just wants all of the power in the galaxy to himself. He's just completely just straight up evil. And not for the sake of evil. He is like literally the epitome of somebody who is good, doing something good, turning evil and drunk with power. Like, because they started out on the route of, we're going to fix the galaxy by taking out the Mandalorians, right? That was the whole idea. And on that path of winning that war for civilization, they turned evil, the two of them together. And then he betrayed his master, Revan, and became the Sith of the galaxy, the Emperor Sith of the galaxy, essentially. Because there's only ever 2 Sith, right? There's Revan and Malik. Now there's just Malik. And I don't think Malik ever took on a Padawan, technically. So I guess he was never a master. I don't know. But the ending is just so nuts, because he's trying to convince. He's like, even after everything that went down, he's still like, I'm going to convince you to join me now. Like, I'm that good. Like, and then you're like making a decision. And if you're going down the Sith route, yeah, you join him, and then who knows what happens after that. I always pick the Jedi route, so you end up fighting him. But I can't think of, as in my childhood, that was like the ultimate bad guy was Malik, because that was pre-Halo. But for me,
I'm
anyway,
really gonna play KOTOR at some point.
If you don't like Mass Effect, this is still a game you could play because it's got more turn-based strategy than what Mass Effect has, and it's got a lot less. It's more linear than Mass Effect. Still got a lot of choices, lots and lots and lots of choices, but it's definitely more linear than Mass Effect. And then the Reapers with Indoctrination, creepy as all get out, and quite an awesome bad guy, but I'll give them runner-up to Malik. All right, well, what's the worst, stupidest, or whatever?
So this is hard because there are so many. Can I list a couple?
Sure, but only go into details on one.
Okay. All right, so Lucian from Fable 2, the Crawler from Fable 3, Cortana, I think that the Didact could have been really cool, but they just squashed that. So now I think he's a terrible villain. I guess I'll stop with those two because those are the ones I'm most familiar with, and a lot of times I haven't. I don't know. BioShock is so good though, so I'm not gonna say any of those villains are bad. Yeah, I'll stick with those. I think those ones are the ones that really disappointed me because they come off such high points, and then you get into it and you're like, what am I playing? This is terrible. And the most detailed one I say is Cortana. It's like, what the heck? You go through this emotional death, and then she comes back and she's terrible. And there's no indication in the game that she's rampant or like she's been corrupted or anything to make it make sense. She just decides to be evil in the game.
Will's just mad the naked blue lady's bad.
Yeah, so speaking of that, let's just go ahead and say my least favorite villain of Halo 4 is Cortana's boobs. I don't understand why she's so detailed in that game. It is so uncomfortable to play.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
And it's true though, they made her way too curvy. There's like shadows going on. It's just no. You don't need that much detail. Put some clothes on that. But yes, those are my picks for sure.
So, for me, I mean, I was going to say Cortana as well. It's just awful. It is just awful. There was no need for it. She was very, very, very dead at the end of Halo 4. Yes. Like, she was very dead. It was very clear that was her last goodbye to Chief. It was handled perfectly. It was a really good send-off. Even if I personally wouldn't have sent her off, it was handled really, really well. This whole rampant fragment thing, I cannot put into words how much I despise that explanation. It's so cheap. Mm-hmm. And to me as well, it retroactively cheapens Halo 4 for me. Like, I can't really enjoy Halo 4's campaign, or at least I can't enjoy the Cortana rampancy narrative in Halo 4's campaign anymore because of Halo 5. Because I know that it doesn't mean anything. Like it's irrelevant because she comes back and she's not good anymore, or she's in a gray area or whatever. Complete garbage you want to say. She's not. She's evil for no reason. She doesn't need to be. She was very dead at the end of Halo 4. The only thing that would possibly alleviate my hate for this idea is if she ends up having the logic plague and it's not actually Cortana. It's just like a sort of like broken recreation of Cortana that the Gravemind makes to like, I don't know, to trick Chief or something. But then again, even if that ended up being the case in Infinite, then in Halo 5, that very clearly isn't the case. So I still have a hard time believing it. So it goes without saying, Cortana's the worst thing. I mean, it doesn't even come close. Cortana's just the worst villain ever.
Yes.
Awful. Garbage. Terrible.
Done taking out the trash?
Yeah, I'm done. Continue.
I would say the worst villain of all time is the Master Chief from the Halo 5 Guardians commercial, because that never panned out at all.
Oh yeah.
Chief's going AWOL. Go get him, Locke.
You hate to see it. The coolest idea for a story that was completely squandered.
Yeah, completely. But if I had to take this more seriously than that, I mean the Didact's up there. Definitely some Mario bad guys, like specifically the weird one they put in Super Paper Mario, where he's like, I'm gonna tear the universe apart and this, that. It's like, why? What? Okay, like, whatever. There's also like a weird wizard thing in Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, arguably a really great game, but the bad guys like leaves a lot to the like. I don't understand why these guys just want to tear the universe apart, but they do, so whatever. But I think number one's gonna be the bad, just because of how annoying the final boss fight is. There's a character called Nyx in Persona 3, and basically there's no way to beat this character in under 2 hours. Like you're in a Final Fantasy style turn-based strategy fight for like 2 hours. And
well, like actually 2 hours.
Yeah, literally 2 hours.
Oh.
And between me and my brother-in-law, when we've played this game, I want to say him and I each took like 8 hours on our separate playthroughs to beat this guy, because it's the most frustrating final boss fight I've ever been in my life. because they just keep rotating elements, and the elements matter for how your attacks do damage, and it's just like so broken. It's so broken because like, okay, now I'm this one, now I'm this one, now I'm this one, now I'm this one, and there's no way to prepare for that. It's just impossible. So you just basically have to be a giant sponge and just take as many hits over and over and over, and eventually you will get through it. And the ending is magical. But there's this just most frustrating final boss that's just annoying to play against. The music's epic, but it's 2 hours of it. So by the time you're done with it, it's like...
You're just sick of it by the end.
So I'm going to hand it off to Nyx. I think Nyx is one of the worst final bad guys of a game ever. It's just so frustrating. And I would have said Cortana too, but you guys already beat that horse to freaking... That dead horse is deader than dead.
Oh, that horse has been in the afterlife now for 2 decades. It's long gone.
So I'm going to rag on the final boss of one of my favorite games of all time. Persona 3 is up there. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But the final boss is just garbage. I wish they would have done something more with that. The lead up to the final boss is just epic. And then you get to the final boss and it's like, I got to do this for 2 hours? What were you thinking, Atlas? But yeah, so that's it.
Yeah. I will say fighting Calamity Ganon in Breath of the Wild was disappointing.
Was it too easy?
Just way too easy. But I still think he was a cool design, and it was still fun to play. It was just way easier than the other bosses. All the mini bosses are much harder, especially the centaur things. I don't remember their names. Have you guys ever played Breath of the Wild? I know Chris has.
I've been meaning to since it came out, and I still haven't. At some point, I absolutely will do.
I haven't finished it.
I highly recommend the game. It's a lot of fun, but the mini bosses are way harder than the final boss.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I caused myself a problem with Breath of the Wild. I started playing it like as if it were like a Red Dead Redemption type game, and I got bored of it. Because I was just exploring and doing all the side stuff, and I was like, wait a second, this isn't the point of Zelda. Why am I doing this? And I just got bored of it. So I gotta go back to it.
That's what I liked about it, though. Is like you can just go anywhere and just you're on the completely like this crazy side mission that's just as much fun as the main mission, and completely ignore what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 50-50 on that. If I'm in the mood for that kind of game, sure. But most of the time, I really prefer directed, focused, linear gameplay over open world, you know. Like, if I can make choices along the way, that's cool. But I prefer a story that's well fleshed out and point A to point B, get it done.
Mm.
So that's probably why I like RPGs a lot, because they have, like, a narrative that pushes the story.
Yeah, and there's always a sense of direction in them.
Exactly. And like Halo, the same thing. It's got a sense of purpose. You're moving from point A to point B across a map, you know, taking down every enemy you possibly can.
Saving the universe.
Saving the universe.
Yeah. Saving the universe. But I love it.
Finishing this fight. Except you didn't get to finish it in Halo 2. We've beaten that horse dead, Will. That was one of my most frustrating moments in gaming ever, was finish this fight. See, it's over.
I will forever support Halo 2's ending. It earned that cliffhanger. It absolutely earned the cliffhanger, and I will die on that hill.
I remember just being so shocked at the end. I was like, "Oh, that was it." And then I went back and played it again and appreciated it. But it was so jarring. Just suddenly ended.
Yeah, I get that, but the way that I see it is, the story itself had so much in it. There were so many sub-narratives and like sub-story arcs within like the overall story arc. I think it personally earned a cliffhanger. So I mean, you've got the Battle of Earth, even though it's quite brief. You've got the heretics sub-narrative. You've got the constant like build-up of the betrayal of the Arbiter. You've got Chief doing his regular stuff, like Jonathan and Miranda being captured. There's a lot, the flood outbreaks, there's a lot going on. It's not like Halo 5 where there's very little happening the entire game and then you get a really, really god-awful garbage cliffhanger. Halo 5, I remember being at the end of Halo 5's ending and literally being like, oh, that's it?
Yeah, or being offended.
Well, yeah, more so being offended, in fact. More so being offended. I remember that game, getting to the last mission. I didn't know it was the last mission. And I thought, oh, there's gonna be more from here. Like we saved Chief and Blue Team. Surely we're gonna fight alongside them now, or
Yes.
we're gonna play as Chief and fight alongside Osiris. And then that cutscene rolled of the Guardians coming to Earth, and I was like, hang on, this is the ending, isn't it? This is the ending of the game. And lo and behold, it was the ending of the game.
Well, I guess, Halo 2 did it well with that 2 different character perspectives. So you start off with Chief and you end with Chief. So you don't feel betrayed, and you can, slowly get into the Arbiter's character. Whereas with this game, you start with Locke, you end with Locke. And I didn't really like Locke, and I also wanted to play as Master Chief.
Yeah. Again, Locke's one of those characters where the idea for his character was so cool. Like an Oni spook hunting down Chief is such a cool idea. And Locke's armor looks really cool as well, and very fitting for the role. Yep. But his character in the end just ended up being just awful. Just not even awful. I'm not going to say that. Just nothing. It just didn't make me feel anything. Like there's no, I get no sense of attachment to that whatsoever. There's no, his character just didn't do anything for me at all.
Oh, you know what? Again, I'm going to revise my choice. Worst villain ever is Flood Keys.
Flood Keys last for like 2 seconds.
I'm sorry, I had to. Hey, I just wanted to say we really appreciated you coming on the channel this week.
We do.
It was super cool.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it so much, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Now you're a human being to me, not just a YouTuber.
Exactly. I exist beyond the screen.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you this. The episodes we filmed today are coming out, would be on the 4th, okay?
Okay.
So we usually are a week ahead.
Yeah.
So next week, the episodes will be Nathan Sifu, and then after that will be our episodes with you.
Okay, nice.
So,
wait, so is that May 4th?
Yes.
Yeah, that might be the day before we get Infinite News.
Oof.
Maybe. There's rumors going around right now that May 5th is going to be when there's an Xbox event, and that's obviously when we get some Infinite News.
Yes, please.
That would be cool. Just so anybody listening, we filmed this on 4/26.
Yeah.
So this is pre any of that. All right.
So by the time you're watching this right now, you may have already seen Halo Infinite gameplay.
And we're getting super excited and crossing our fingers for something that's probably already happened.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. As always, I'm Chris.
And I'm Will.
And I'm Luke.
And I'm going to let you sign it off, Luke. What is this?
This is the CHRILLCAST. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you very much. Oh.